And Gary is with us now. Hello, Coach.
What's going on, guys?
How you doing? How are things?
I'm good. Trying to find a Pandora station here.
Oh.
I just went the hairbands radio. Not bad.
There's nothing wrong with that. If you have like Sirius Radio, you can go with Hair Nation. Isn't a bad one.
That's a good one.
Really?
Do you like country at all?
I do. I like country. Depends on the time of year. Not a lot during the football season, but it's kind of the summer on the patio deal, you know?
Yeah.
It's a good time.
A great Pandora summer patio station is old school Waylon Jennings Pandora. I'm telling you. It's wonderful.
I'm with you. I'll remember that. I'll write that down.
What are you listening to music? What are you doing? Like working out or something?
No. I'm going to talk to you guys, man. I got to get in the right mode. Got to get in my mojo right to get on the phone. I'm sitting in my office.
I'm thinking maybe some Van Halen or something. What about a Van Halen Pandora?
I got Van Halen on there. Yeah, it's on my playlist. I got everything. Hawaiian Radio, AC/DC, Salt and Pepper.
Whoa,
I got all the Cars, Eric Church. I can keep going if you want me to.
But the Cars are criminally underrated. I'll give you that. Like, no one gives it's like Journey. No one gives them any credit, and yet they're freaking great.
I'm a little worried about the Salt and Pepper station, though.
He pushes it.
Hey, that's old school, though. That's fair.
Yeah. Well, we were just talking about you guys, and I wonder, you're halfway home in the first season, and you knew you had some young guys. You knew there may be some ups and downs this year, but are even you and the coaches surprised by what's happening right now?
I think I'm a little surprised by the talent in the league from top to bottom until you go through it. I don't know if surprised is the right word. I was told it was a great league, and I expected it to be a great league, but it's surprising, kind of where we're at. And with as youthful as we are when we line up against some other people and you even watch them run around, I take a lot of time in pregame to kind of watch the other teams and see where they're at and see what they look like physically. And we got a minute to go to catch a field, but that's okay. But it's a real good league from top to bottom, and we haven't played some of the best teams we're going to play yet in this league, so they're still out there. But yeah, it's great for us to be able to see it. And I'm also, in a good way, I'm surprised with the team that has the ability to hang in there and fight the way these kids fight. I've been in this situation a couple times in similar years, and it was harder to get the kids motivated and get them to keep grinding and understanding. But the toughness of this team and the resiliency, I think they see a light at the end of the tunnel. It's hard for these seniors now. They're sitting staring at 38 days guaranteed left, and they're nowhere near where they wanted to be at the beginning of the season. So, but there's some good and bad in all things.
Yeah. So is that something that you haven't had to guard against? Because you get, even when you're good and you're winning games, you get to this point in the season and the dog days, and you're not at the end of the tunnel. You're kind of in the middle of it. It can be hard to get up day in and day out if you don't have a lot to play for. That hasn't been something that you've really had to deal with this crew?
Not at all with these kids, amazingly. And I will say this, we have challenged them mightily, which I think you guys have a pretty good feel of that. These kids have been challenged on and off the field daily, and they haven't shied away from it. And I think there's some transitions. There's some kids right now that are, trying to figure their way through it and make sure that's what they want, where they're going. But overall, as a football team, it's been very, very good. And the expectation, they haven't tried to make excuses for themselves. They're not, pouting. They come back. The losses hurt. And, so I look at that close, and I think to myself, sometimes, they're practicing so hard, they're working so hard. Is it hurting enough when they lose? And I don't think it did early. I don't think it hurt enough when we lost to Michigan. I don't think it was, they practiced hard, they worked hard, but I don't think that loss hurt enough. I thought they believed they could win and all the things that I talk about with them, but they're hurting a little bit more now, and I think that's, or they're pretending to hurt a little bit more, so they're convincing me, and I think that's important as you go through. They have to really, really hurt, but move on and keep on fighting. And I also think that they are respecting where we're going, and they're believing in themselves and in the coaching staff, which is good.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you mentioned you've challenged them, and is it a conscious thing? Because I have noticed the last couple weeks, you, Coach Sataki, there has been more shuffling of lineups, guys being moved around, more, I'm not going to say calling anyone out in the press, but kind of demanding the accountability factor and saying it's not good enough. It does seem like you guys have made a conscious effort to challenge these guys even publicly.
Yeah, to a point. I think first thing we always do, we pride ourselves on, looking at ourselves in the mirror, that's for sure. But there is a responsibility for kids and coaches and everybody in the program to, put our best foot forward every single day. And when kids are in that situation, there's so many things we ask them to learn, and it's an intense program. We want it to be an intense program. We want you to be able to, have to produce at a high level on and off the field, and we're never going to change down those lines. So, I will always blame myself first, but I think there is an accountability factor for young men where you can't hide on Saturdays. And the bottom line is when you go out there, people want to pound you into the ground, and they want you to go get on the airplane, or they want you to waddle off your home field and in defeat and leave. And that's what we want to do to people, and it's hard to do that. So you have to have the mindset of some thick skin sometimes, but you have to produce when you need to produce. And we're not going to use excuses. You've done it, this, that, the other thing. It's not happening.
Gary Andersen, Oregon State coach on the Fan and Comcast Sportsnet. Let's see. What was I going to ask you? Oh, the night games? Are there some of the coaches in the Pac-12 are a little upset at all the night games? You have another night game against Colorado. Are you? I mean, should there be a limit on the number of night games a team gets?
I haven't been through it in this league. Kind of grew up as a head coach at Utah State, where we had a bunch of night games and we traveled on the road. They are difficult, and it seems like there's some valid points. I know here for us, it's different. It's not like being in LA. It's not like being in Tempe. It's not like being in Salt Lake City, Utah. There's nowhere to stay when you come here in Corvallis. So if you're going to drive from Portland and there's a game at 7:30 that ends at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, well, you got to turn around and drive back home most likely, and that's the most frustrating thing I think for our fans, and that's very difficult. But it is what it is. We're not going to change it. For as far as the student athletes go, we'd all like to play as early as we can. And I have a personal opinion that playing in the Big Ten for a couple of years, we kicked off at 11 o'clock in a lot of games, and some people then say, oh, well, that's too early. But to me, that's a great time for the Pac-12 to be recognized nationally. So, but again, I don't make those decisions. You kick off 2 o'clock East Coast, 1 o'clock in the Midwest, and 11 o'clock here. I think you got a couple teams that are going to have some nice national exposure that they're not getting at this point. But, we'll see. Right now, we're going to play them when we play them. But if I had if I could make all those decisions, there would be less night games, and we would never play night games if I had it my way.
As a former player, it did stink. You wake up at 7 or 8 because it's what you used to waking up as, and then you sit around all day in a hotel. You got nothing to do. It drove me nuts.
Yeah, it's torture. It's absolute torture. There's no question. It's worse when you play on a Thursday or Friday night. But I like those games better on a Thursday night, Friday night, whatever they may be, because it's a national audience. You kind of got everybody in the country is looking at your program, or maybe one other team, right? There's 4 teams maybe playing that night. So that is worth its weight in gold, especially if it's a home game for you. But those late games are tough to sit around and deal with, but it is part of the deal.
Yeah, we were having this discussion before you came on, and it's no one's happy about it, but everyone wants to cash the $30 million check that these TV deals bring in. And I know it's the whole student athlete thing, but I mean, to be honest with you, it's hard to say that TV doesn't drive every sport, including college football at this point.
Oh, and absolutely. Yeah, there's no question the direction it's headed. And I think we need to sit back and realize what TV does give the student athlete as a whole, and what it gives the university. I mean, there's a lot of very, very, very special places are being built for these student athletes, and it betters them as students, it betters them athletes, and it betters them as people. That a lot of those buildings probably wouldn't be there if it was not for the TV deals. So, it's a concern. The night games are always it is what it is. We've been fortunate this year to not. We've had a couple 5 o'clocks, but we haven't had a 7:30. And I would rather have the night games played than all of a sudden somebody come back in and say, hey, now we're going to play a 13th game. I'll tell you that much, because 12 is good where we're going to be, and then you get the bowl games and the championships and so on and so forth.
We wanted to ask you about a topic we were talking about yesterday, and that is how much a coach should know of what all is going on with his program, because there's a scandal going on at Louisville, and it seems like anytime there are scandals, college basketball or college football coaches can come out and they have that old plausible deniability. Well, I didn't know. You got a lot to manage. So my question to you is, in general, as the head man at a major college football program, how much can you know what is going on with each and every booster, with each and every kid, even an assistant coach that may be out doing something that maybe he shouldn't, or that is pushing pushing the limit on the rules? How much can you know what's happening?
Well, obviously, you're never going to know everything, and unfortunately, sometimes the things that we don't know are the things that maybe we need to know most, but we have no idea of knowing those. So, what I tell my assistant coaches, because ultimately, if one of my assistant coaches makes a mistake and has a big issue with NCAA or whatever it may be, I'm held accountable through that, really. And I feel like I'm held accountable to the kids 100%. And it's much like being a parent, I guess. But you're not a parent to them, but you are a mentor, and you look at it and you say, I'm going to make a commitment to these kids and do everything I can to get them moving in the right direction. And there's 105 of them sometimes. There's 120 of them sometimes on the team. Somebody's going to make a mistake. But ultimately, are you responsible for them? Yes, you are. And as a coach, it's hard to say that you're not. And but on the flip side of that, is it possible to know everything? Absolutely not. So educate them, communicate with them. We always try to get as many valuable lessons as we can from other people. If there's a mistake made that's out there and it's publicized, and what we're going to do is try to learn from that lesson, not live that lesson if possible. And we just try to do our best and move through it. But it's always a concern, and it kind of keeps you awake at night as a coach. The decisions that your young men are making, for sure.
Yeah, I don't remember any major scandals with you at Wisconsin or Utah State or your players. But
No, not, thank goodness. No.
Except for that salt and pepper Pandora
yeah, the
controversy.
Pandora station, which is now it's going to be a major topic. But does it ever keep you up at night?
On right now, that's a pretty good one.
Does it ever keep you up at night though, like when you're recruiting or after a game or maybe a big win or something, and you're just the guys are charged up, or if someone's going to go out and have a good time. Do you ever just kind of sit there at night and you're worried about the phone ringing?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's always very worrisome. That's one of the last things I say to them. Win or lose after games is, the decisions that they're making are very, very important. It can affect them for the rest of their lives, and it can give a big black eye to the team. And we want to do things as much as we can to keep them going in the right direction. But it's that education. And one of the things I think is real important, and right now I got all the answers because I'm not talking about a problem that we have, but I think a team that polices itself is so vital too. Kids have to be able to understand, hey, we could have a potential situation here, and let's get ourselves out of here rather than turn or have more kids get involved in a situation that could be bad. So it's a tough deal. Does it keep me awake at night? Absolutely, yes. And we try to avoid them as much as we can. But it's a great challenge when you're dealing with young men, young women as student athletes, and trying to help them, make those decisions when they're out on their own, especially when they're youthful, freshman, sophomore years.
Well, Colorado is in Corvallis Saturday night. What did they do well, and what does it take to beat them?
Well, the big thing is you look and they're competing every week against every team they're playing, and it's been impressive to watch them. I haven't watched them in the past, obviously, it's the first year. I've got great respect for Mike, battled against his teams at San Jose. And so what I see is a team on offense, they will line up and try to pound the ball at you at times. Then they'll also have very much of a spread feel to their offense. But they lined up and had a couple very nice series against Arizona State where they went in double tight ends and handed the ball off and had some success. And not so much in their spread game against Arizona State. So they're going to have that physicality and be able to want to run the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, they move around. They're going to be in an odd front. They're going to be in an even front. They're going to show you a whole bunch of different looks, and I think that they do a nice job of mixing up their pressure package. But overall, as a football team, they're in it with Pac-12 teams, and obviously I have high regard for Pac-12 teams at this point, and they're within striking distance every single week. It's been hard for them to get over the hump, so they must have been building in the right direction. They seem to be moving in the right direction, and I'm excited to see what they look like when they get here, and then how we play against them.
So what you're saying is Colorado is going to push it. They're going to push it real good.
Oh, God.
There you go.
Wow.
Salt and pepper right there. You got
wow.
it.
That's what
nice.
The Buffalo do.
That was nice.
Coach, I'm so sorry. Talk to you next week. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Go Bees.
All right, we'll talk to you. Wow.
Yeah, that had to go in there.
You did it.
That had to get in there.
How long were you thinking about doing that?
Well, after the second time you brought up salt and pepper, all I could think about is it the Geico commercial? I'm pushing it good. I'm pushing it real good. The guy on the lawnmower. After the second salt and pepper, I could not get that out of my head. So, yes, it was going to get worked in.
Well played.
Yeah, thank you.
I liked it. I liked it a lot.